And I'm going to give you two options for this next setup. Now, some of you might have seen me do some spine work in this position here in kneeling. And I like this position especially if we're working on full spine. So if you're happy in this position, you can use this position here. However, we're going to try and isolate more our upper spine, specifically the spine that lifts kind of from the base of our shoulder blades up, or if you're women, you can also think kind of from your bra strap up. So this is a position that works well if you have the access to knee flexion and ankle plantar flexion, and this isn't a miserable position for you for those joints. This would be kind of the easier option of the two, but it also makes it harder to isolate that upper spine. Simultaneously, easier for you to move your full spine. So if the goal was full spine, this would probably be a better position. But for today, what you might want to try is actually what we call long sitting. So sitting on your butt and then having your stick out in between your legs from there. This is going to drag your tailbone down. It's going to kind of take your lower spine out of it, which will make it a little easier for us to isolate our upper spine. But you might notice that you get less movement overall, and it makes it a little bit more challenging and a little bit more humbling. So I encourage you to work towards trying this one. You're going to go hands around shoulder height. Now when we do this exercise, I want you to take note of your stick position. I don't want your stick leaning back on you. I don't want it leaning really far forward on you. I want the stick staying around kind of verticality, or just being vertical here. Now from this position, what we're going to focus on is segmenting our upper spine. So instead of focusing on your spine today, we're going to shift the focus to your sternum. So what I want you to visualize is breaking your sternum, so this bone in the front of your rib cage, into 3 sections, so that you have the very top of your sternum, which is kind of right between your collarbones, the middle of your sternum, and then the base of your sternum, which you can think of as almost down to where your ribs come up and meet each other. So in that bone, you're going to break it into those 3 sections in your mind. And what you're going to do is you're going to hang into some spine flexion. You're going to start, let that sternum fall backwards. So think sink that whole bone back. And then we're going to think pull the top of that sternum or the collarbone area upwards. And if you gently press down through your stick, it'll help with that. Then you're going to pull the middle of your sternum upwards. Then you're going to pull the base of your sternum upwards. Then you're going to stop there. You're going to send the base or the bottom of your sternum backwards. You're going to send the middle of your sternum backwards. And then you're going to send the bottom of your sternum kind of backwards and downwards. So again, top of the sternum comes up, middle of the sternum comes up, base of the sternum comes up. Notice how subtle this is. And then bottom of the sternum goes back down, middle of the sternum goes down and back, top of the sternum goes down and back. So you're really trying to segment this and break that sternum bone up into those 3 individual pieces and see if you can make it almost feel like 3 individual pieces. Now we'll smooth it out a little bit. So top of the sternum comes up, middle of the sternum comes up, bottom of the sternum comes up, and then bottom of the sternum goes down, middle of the sternum goes down, top of the sternum goes down. So you want to feel like that sternum's kind of going from this position in extension to this position in flexion. And simultaneously, you're going to notice that as it goes to this position, it comes forward. And as it goes to this position, it comes backwards. So it'll sink back as you go into spine flexion, and it'll come forward as you come into spine extension. But most people would benefit from spending a little extra time, even when they're doing their segmental spine work and segmental cat-cows, in their upper back. And like I said, some people do much better when they shift the focus from what they feel in their upper back, because it can be really hard to sense those areas in the back. Unlike the bottom where we've got really meaty, thick erectors and we can feel things really well, it can be harder to feel things and feel what's happening between our shoulder blades. So if you shift that focus to your sternum, you might have a little bit more success with it. So just practice trying to get the top of that sternum to come up, the middle of that sternum to come up, the bottom of that sternum to come up, and then when you feel like you've kind of maxed out in that area between your shoulder blades, then think bottom of the sternum goes back, middle of the sternum goes back, top of the sternum goes back. And like I said, we don't want to see a ton of making it go back like this. Stick stays vertical, and you're just working through that range of motion.